The galaxy had always thought of Earth as a small, insignificant planet. Far from the core of the universe, Earth's existence had gone unnoticed by the powerful alien empires that ruled the stars. But Earth's people had never forgotten their place in the vast universe. For years they lived quietly, keeping to themselves, building their cities, and advancing their technology, unaware of the growing dangers beyond their borders. Then, one day everything changed. The first signs came in the form of strange dark ships entering Earth's atmosphere. The invaders were ruthless. They didn't ask for permission, and they didn't seek peace. Their only goal was to conquer and destroy. They had already wiped out several peaceful civilizations, and now it was Earth's turn. The alien fleet descended upon Earth, expecting an easy victory. But they didn't know Earth. They didn't know its history. They didn't know the fire that burned in the hearts of its people. Earth's governments watched in fear, but they weren't about to surrender without a fight. As the alien ships approached the planet's surface, humans rallied together in ways they never had before. Their soldiers, scientists, and engineers worked around the clock, building weapons and defenses that the invaders couldn't even imagine. It was too late for the invaders. The first alien ship that touched down on Earth was destroyed in seconds. Then the next, and the next. The alien forces were shocked. They had expected easy prey, but Earth was fighting back with everything it had. With advanced weapons, secret technologies, and the determination of a species fighting for survival, the invaders quickly realized they had made a grave mistake. But, even though Earth had fought back with everything it had, the battle wasn't over. The invaders called for reinforcements, and soon, an entire fleet of massive ships was heading toward Earth. The situation grew more dire by the day. Earth's defenses were strong, but could they withstand the overwhelming force of an entire alien armada? It was at that moment that something remarkable happened. A signal was broadcasted across the galaxy. It wasn't just a message. It was a declaration, a warning. Earth's leaders sent out a simple but powerful message: attack again and perish. The galaxy froze. The alien invaders, still reeling from their surprise defeat, were stunned. How could Earth, a small and seemingly weak planet, issue such a bold challenge? For years they had ignored Earth, dismissing it as nothing more than a blip in the grand scheme of the galaxy. But now, Earth was standing tall. It wasn't just defending itself. It was sending a message to the entire galaxy. We are not weak. We will not fall. Attack again, and you will regret it. The message didn't just go to the alien invaders. It was broadcasted to every corner of the galaxy. Every civilization that had ever looked down on Earth, every empire that had underestimated humanity's strength, now knew the truth. Earth was not going to back down. Earth was not going to be another victim. And the galaxy had better listen, carefully, because Earth had a lot more to offer than anyone had realized. But why had Earth waited so long? Why had it allowed itself to be underestimated? Why hadn't it revealed its true power earlier? The answer was simple. Earth had been biding its time. It had been watching and waiting. Earth knew that the galaxy was full of powerful forces, and it had no intention of picking a fight without good reason. But now, with its back against the wall, Earth was showing the galaxy that it could fight, that it could stand up for itself, and that it was more than just a small, insignificant planet. The warning echoed across the stars. The galaxy began to take notice. Governments, empires, and warlords who had never paid attention to Earth before were now scrambling to figure out what had happened. What was this message? And why was Earth so sure of itself? The galaxy was used to seeing itself as the dominant force in the universe. The powerful alien empires had crushed civilizations before with ease, but Earth had done something no one had expected. It had struck first, and it had struck hard. Now the galaxy was faced with a choice: ignore Earth and risk its wrath, or prepare for the worst. As the warning continued to reverberate throughout the galaxy, there was no going back. Earth had made its move, and the question on everyone's mind was, what would happen next? Would the invaders listen, or would they be foolish enough to test Earth's might again? The suspense hung in the air, and the galaxy held its breath. Earth had made its defiant message clear. We are not to be underestimated. Attack again, and you will perish. The first 5 to 7 minutes of the video build tension as Earth's warning is broadcasted, leaving viewers on the edge of their seats, eager to see what will happen next. The question lingers in the air. Will Earth's defiance be enough to change the course of the galaxy, or will its enemies strike back with deadly force? The hook has been set, and the audience is now ready for the story to unfold. The silence after Earth's warning was deafening. Across the galaxy, countless beings waited in anticipation, unsure of what to expect next. Earth's message had sent shockwaves through the universe, and now the galaxy was left to wonder, what would the small planet do next? Would Earth's bold challenge be followed by action, or had it been an empty threat? The silence lasted, for what felt like an eternity. But then, Earth's response came, not with a roar of battle, not with another flashy display of power, but with something far more terrifying, complete and utter calm. While alien forces scrambled to analyze Earth's message, Earth's leaders took a different approach. They didn't rush into another fight. They didn't call for reinforcements. Instead, they quietly prepared. The government issued no further announcements. The planet remained eerily still. To the galaxy, this was an unsettling silence, a waiting game that made everyone on edge. Suspense grew. Every empire and civilization began to second-guess their own position. Was Earth really planning something massive? Or had it simply been a desperate plea for attention? Weeks passed, and still, no one knew. Earth gave no indication of what its next move would be. Yet in the shadows, Earth's brightest minds worked tirelessly. Hidden beneath the surface of the planet, deep in forgotten bunkers and hidden labs, human scientists and engineers were developing technologies that could change the course of history. Advanced weapons, defense systems, and strategies that the galaxy could never have predicted were quietly being built. It wasn't long before strange reports began to trickle in from across the stars. Strange energy readings, unexplainable disturbances in space, and mysterious signals all pointed back to Earth. The signs were subtle, almost too small to be noticed, but they were there. Earth was preparing for something. But what? Then, one fateful morning, something happened. A sudden surge of energy pulsed through Earth's atmosphere, briefly disrupting communications with nearby satellites. The silence was broken, but only for a moment. Still, it was enough to make the galaxy stop and take notice. Was this a test? Was Earth showing its hand? A wave of uncertainty washed over the galaxy's leaders. Some thought it was an accident. Others feared it was a warning. Some even believed it was a signal that Earth had finally lost its mind, but no one dared ignore it. This was the beginning of something huge, something Earth had been preparing for all along. While the universe debated, Earth's quiet preparations continued. Its people from every corner of the planet were united under a single cause. The truth was that Earth had always been underestimated, not just by the alien invaders, but by the entire galaxy. Now, as the galaxy waited in suspense, Earth was preparing to show its true strength, a quiet, unassuming strength that was more dangerous than any fleet of warships or army of soldiers. It was the strength of unity, of determination, and of a people who had always been pushed to the brink, but had never given up. The galaxy's great empires, who had lived for centuries in comfort and security, began to realize that they might have been wrong about Earth. The galaxy was beginning to see something they had never seen before, a planet that wasn't afraid to stand up for itself, a planet that didn't need to shout or fight to be heard. Earth had made its message clear, and the silence that followed wasn't weakness, it was strategy. But the question remained. What would Earth do next? And who would be the first to push them too far? The suspense was building, and no one could predict what would happen when Earth finally decided to make its next move. And in the quiet of their secret bunkers, the humans smiled. They knew exactly what to do. The galaxy's Great Council, a group made up of representatives from the most powerful civilizations, convened in haste. They had received word of Earth's warning, and now they faced a choice that could alter the course of the entire galaxy. Some were skeptical, others were nervous. But one thing was certain. Earth was no longer the insignificant planet they had once thought it to be. For centuries, the Council had overseen the balance of power in the universe. It had been a place where the most influential beings made decisions that affected the fate of entire civilizations. And now, this small, distant planet, Earth, had thrown everything into disarray with a single bold message. The council chambers buzzed with heated debates. Representatives of the galactic empires argued fiercely. One faction pushed for immediate action, strike Earth before it could reveal any more of its plans. Their power is still untested, they insisted. They're nothing more than a small world with nothing to lose. But others disagreed. A quiet, determined voice spoke up from the back of the room. A representative from a distant system, who had always been cautious, now stood with a warning of their own. We must not underestimate Earth. They've been preparing something. And if we make a wrong move, we could face consequences beyond our understanding. For the first time in years, the Council found itself divided. Some saw Earth's warning as an act of desperation, a cry for help from a planet that had nowhere to turn. But others, those who had more knowledge of the universe's hidden corners, knew better. Earth was different. It wasn't begging for survival. It was claiming its place in the galaxy. The discussion grew more intense and the tension in the room was palpable. The fate of Earth was being debated not just by the Council members, but by the entire galaxy. As the arguments raged on, the quiet hum of technology in the chamber suddenly cut off. All screens flickered. The communications network went dark. The Council members looked at one another in confusion, unsure of what was happening. Then, a message appeared on the screens. It was a simple text, but it carried with it an undeniable weight. We are ready. It wasn't Earth's leaders speaking. It wasn't a diplomatic plea or another warning. It was the voice of humanity itself. The message wasn't just to the Council. It was to every being in the galaxy. For a moment, the room was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. The implications of that message rippled across the galaxy. Earth was no longer hiding behind silence or secrecy. It was no longer waiting for permission or approval. Earth had declared itself ready to face the galaxy on its own terms. And now, everyone had to decide what to do about it. The representatives of the Council knew that Earth's message wasn't just words. It was a challenge, a declaration that would force the entire galaxy to reevaluate its view of this seemingly insignificant planet. It was a bold statement, one that no one could ignore. Earth was ready, and it was no longer playing by the rules the galaxy had set. Some Council members still wanted to strike before Earth could show its true power. But the atmosphere in the room had shifted. The quiet representative from the back of the room stood again, speaking now with an intensity that had been missing before. This is no longer about crushing a tiny world. This is about respecting something we've ignored for far too long. Earth is a force to be reckoned with, and we must decide how we will respond to that. The decision was clear, but not simple. The Council was no longer deciding whether to act. It was deciding how to act. The galaxy had always seen itself as the dominant power. And yet, here was Earth, refusing to be subjugated, refusing to back down. And the galaxy had to reckon with that. As the Council session drew to a close, the galaxy's empires and forces were left in a state of uncertainty. Some began to prepare their defenses, while others began to reconsider their position entirely. Earth's message had unsettled them, but it had also forced them to confront a truth they could no longer ignore. This small planet, this little-known world, had changed everything. What would come next? Would the galaxy decide to test Earth? Or would they finally realize that they were facing something far more formidable than they had ever imagined? The hook was set, and the suspense built as Earth's quiet resolve echoed through the stars. The stage was now set for something far greater, something that would change the galaxy forever. The galaxy's fate now rested on the decisions of a few, but Earth had already made its choice. The real question was, who would be the next to act? The galaxy was now in motion. Rumors and reports spread like wildfire, and every civilization felt the tremors of Earth's defiance. While some feared what Earth might do next, others began to wonder if they had underestimated the planet all along. The stakes had never been higher, and for the first time, Earth stood on equal footing with the galaxy's most powerful empires. In every corner of the universe, attention was focused on Earth. No longer just a distant, quiet world, it had become the center of a cosmic debate. Even as Earth's leadership maintained its composed silence, its citizens were starting to feel the weight of the moment. Ordinary people, unaware of the vast scale of the galaxy's attention, began to sense the shifting tides. On Earth, a new sense of unity was born, one that was less about fear and more about pride. Among the people, there was a collective understanding. Earth was not begging for survival. Earth was no longer the underdog. It had found its voice and was ready to make its place in the grand story of the galaxy. While the Galactic Council debated behind closed doors, Earth's inhabitants quietly carried out their tasks. In secret laboratories, vast fleets of ships were built, new technologies developed, and alliances forged. Humans were ready, and they were far more prepared than anyone could have predicted. But the galaxy wasn't standing still either. Every major empire now knew that Earth's warning wasn't an empty threat. It was the beginning of something big. Leaders who had once laughed at the idea of Earth challenging the galaxy's power now found themselves questioning their own decisions. Was Earth truly capable of withstanding the might of the galaxy? Or was there something else at play? As the tension grew, whispers started to spread of something strange, a new phenomenon in space. It began as a faint ripple in the energy readings across several systems. At first, it was dismissed as nothing more than a fluke. But as the weeks went by, the readings intensified, growing stronger and more frequent. And every time, they seemed to point directly toward Earth. Galactic scientists and engineers scrambled to understand what was happening. No one could pinpoint the source of the disturbances, but all signs pointed toward Earth. And with each passing day, the readings grew more powerful. The galaxy began to realize that Earth was not only preparing for something, it was already in motion. Whatever it was unlike anything anyone had seen before. Then one day an unexpected event occurred. A massive, unexplained energy pulse was detected just outside Earth's orbit. It wasn't like anything the galaxy had ever encountered. It was neither destructive nor damaging, but it was immense. The pulse rippled across space, sending waves through nearby stars and affecting the gravitational pull of several planets. It wasn't just a signal, it was a clear message. Earth was ready to show the galaxy its true power. The ripple effect reached every corner of the galaxy, and for the first time, no one could ignore the signs. Earth was no longer playing the waiting game. It had taken action, and the entire universe was forced to acknowledge it. The ripple became a shockwave, a signal that Earth was about to make its move. Yet, even with all the evidence in front of them, no one knew exactly what Earth's next step would be. On Earth, the government remained silent. The people remained calm. But the world was united in a shared understanding. They were no longer passive observers of the universe. They were players in a game that had always seemed out of their reach. And now, they were ready to take their place. The galaxy's attention was divided. Some empires feared that Earth's move would spark a war, while others hoped that the strange energy pulse was just a miscalculation, but no one could afford to take the chance. The galaxy had underestimated Earth once before, and it would not make that mistake again. As the energy readings grew stronger, the universe braced itself for what was to come. Earth had made its presence known, but the question still lingered. In the minds of every galactic leader, what would Earth do next? And who would be the first to challenge them? The tension was unbearable, and the uncertainty hung in the air. The stage was set, and the galaxy's fate rested on the decisions of those who still had the power to make them. But one thing was clear. Earth was no longer a distant, vulnerable world. It was a force to be reckoned with. And now, everyone would have to decide what to do about it. The hook was set, the suspense had mounted, and the galaxy's attention was fixed firmly on Earth. The next move could change everything. Would the universe continue to stand by? Or would they act? And, if so, what would their actions unleash? The waiting game was almost over, and the tension in the galaxy was at its peak. The galaxy had fallen into a strange stillness, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Every faction, every empire, every civilization now watched Earth, their eyes fixed on the small, seemingly insignificant planet that had somehow turned the tide of galactic power. The moment of truth was fast approaching, and no one knew exactly what Earth's next move would be. Within the grand councils of the galaxy's most powerful empires, discussions raged on, but they were no longer about whether Earth was a threat. The question now was, how would Earth make its next move? Would it take a leap into the unknown, or would it continue to surprise everyone with calculated, precise actions that would slowly reveal just how far-reaching its plans truly were? In the quiet depths of space, another strange event occurred. A series of signals, faint at first but growing in strength and complexity, emanated from Earth's moon. They weren't messages, nor were they broadcasted in any known language. Instead, they were patterns, deliberate, almost purposeful sequences of energy that seemed to correspond with the unknown energy pulse Earth had sent out weeks earlier. The signals traveled far beyond Earth, reaching into the corners of the galaxy, and yet there was no way to decode them. The patterns were intricate, far too complex to understand at first glance, but they were undeniable. Earth was sending a message, but this time it wasn't words. It was something deeper, something that reverberated in the very fabric of space itself. On Earth, its leaders remained silent, their eyes set on the galaxy that now watched them. Humanity had grown accustomed to the strange, enigmatic signals, yet they still had no answers. They were part of something far greater than they had ever imagined, and the weight of it all was heavy. But there was a quiet confidence among the people. They were no longer afraid, no longer in the shadows. They had declared themselves to the galaxy, and now they were standing tall. A small group of scientists, working in secret, began to make a stunning discovery. The patterns of energy from Earth's moon were not random at all. After weeks of decoding, they realized that the signals were a form of universal language, a language that transcended species, planets, and even galaxies. The implications of this discovery were profound. Earth was speaking a language the galaxy had never heard, one that carried knowledge, power, and influence beyond the limits of known science. It wasn't just a message. It was a declaration of intent, a way for Earth to tell the galaxy that it had unlocked something beyond comprehension. The discovery spread like wildfire across the scientific community on Earth. As they shared their findings, the implications began to settle in. This wasn't just the beginning of something new. It was a turning point. The universe had always been governed by certain laws, certain understandings. But Earth had just shattered those laws with a discovery that defied everything the galaxy thought it knew. And so, as the galaxy's most powerful beings watched, the next phase of Earth's plan began to unfold. It wasn't an immediate strike, nor was it an open challenge. It was something far more subtle, a way of showing that Earth was now part of the galactic conversation, with a voice that would be heard. Earth was speaking in ways the galaxy could never have anticipated, and the response, though unknown, was inevitable. As time passed, more strange occurrences began to take place. A few distant star systems reported shifts in the behavior of their planets, as if the very energy of the galaxy had begun to change. Small-scale anomalies appeared in the vast expanse of space. The force that had been emitted from Earth wasn't merely physical. It was altering something far deeper, affecting the very core of galactic existence. Earth wasn't just making a statement anymore. It was transforming the way the galaxy operated. The council members from across the galaxy, once certain of their dominance, were now beginning to ask questions. What was Earth truly capable of? Was this small, seemingly fragile planet truly preparing for something far greater than anyone could fathom? They began to reconsider their strategies, their alliances, their very perceptions of the galaxy. Earth had forced them to look at the universe in a different light, and for the first time, there was doubt. Could they afford to ignore this world any longer? As the days stretched into weeks, Earth's silence continued. There were no more grand speeches, no more warnings. But the galaxy knew better than to think that Earth had simply backed down. Every move the planet had made up until now had been calculated, deliberate. And now, with the galaxy in suspense, the true power of Earth had yet to be revealed. The hook was set. The entire galaxy was waiting for Earth's next move, unsure of what would come. But what they did know was this. Earth was no longer a small, isolated planet in the far reaches of space. It was a force, quiet, mysterious, and more powerful than anyone had ever realized. And now, the galaxy would have to decide how to respond to this new reality. Would they try to stop Earth, or would they finally see it for what it truly was? The final moment had arrived. The galaxy's collective gaze was fixed on Earth, and an unusual stillness had taken over. Every faction, every empire, every civilization was waiting for what came next. Some believed that Earth's silence signaled its retreat, that its actions, so far, had merely been an attempt to show strength. Others feared that it was something deeper, that Earth had been planning something beyond the comprehension of even the greatest minds of the galaxy. But no one truly knew what was coming. Suspense had reached its peak and the entire galaxy held its breath. On Earth, the leadership knew that the time for words had passed. What had started as a warning had now become a universal event, one that would alter the course of history. They had sent out signals, shown their strength, and revealed their newfound power. But now it was time for something far more significant. The gears were already in motion, and the pieces were aligning. There was no grand announcement, no fleet of ships prepared for battle. Instead, Earth's power came in the form of a quiet, profound shift, a change in the very fabric of reality itself, as if responding to the energy pulses that had been sent. Out from Earth, the galaxy began to experience strange phenomena. Systems that had once been stable were now fluctuating, their energy patterns altered in subtle yet undeniable ways. Even the largest empires, once secure in their dominance, felt the ripple effects of this unknown force. There was no destruction, no immediate threat, but the galaxy had begun to feel different. Something was changing. Back on Earth, the citizens lived in the same quiet, determined way they always had. But beneath the surface, a new understanding had spread across the planet. People weren't afraid anymore. They weren't waiting for others to make decisions for them. Earth had embraced its role in the grand scheme of the universe, and now it was preparing to shape its future, no longer as a passive observer, but as a key player. With the realization of their newfound influence came unity, a collective awareness that their world could no longer be ignored. The quiet hum of activity across Earth was now more purposeful than ever. In research labs and underground bunkers, technological advancements were rapidly being made. New energy sources were unlocked, capable of harnessing the strange anomalies that had begun to pulse throughout the galaxy. These were no longer just experiments or idle projects. Earth had discovered something, and it was clear that this was the foundation for the future of the planet. The people were ready, their collective, unified in the pursuit of something greater than themselves. As the days passed, the mysterious energy pulses grew stronger, more focused. The galaxy had been unsettled by the earlier shifts, but now they were becoming a constant presence, a regular pattern that seemed to ripple through the stars themselves. No empire, no council, no leader was untouched. Earth had found a way to tap into the very core of the universe. They had unlocked the potential to influence reality on a scale never before imagined. And the galaxy, once filled with arrogance and certainty, was now filled with uncertainty. Now the time for speculation was over. Earth had proven that it wasn't just sending a message, it was making its presence felt. It wasn't just that they had the power to change things, it was that they had the knowledge to do so. And this was the greatest revelation of all. Earth had become a beacon of discovery, a force not driven by conquest, but by the pursuit of understanding. The great galactic empires could no longer pretend that Earth was simply a young, insignificant planet. They had tried to ignore it, to dismiss it. But that was no longer possible. Earth wasn't just an anomaly in the cosmic order. It was becoming the key to unlocking something far greater. Those who had once looked down upon this small planet now had to consider the possibility that Earth had discovered something they themselves could not. With each passing day, Earth's influence spread. It wasn't aggressive or brash. It was subtle, calculated, and in some ways more terrifying because of its quiet intensity. Earth was making its mark, but it wasn't forcing anyone's hand. Instead, it was offering a vision, one that the galaxy had never seen before. A future built on knowledge, not domination. A future where Earth would be at the heart of the galactic conversation, shaping the universe in ways no one could predict. The galaxy's leaders, once full of pride and certainty, now found themselves questioning everything they had known. Earth wasn't just a planet they could dismiss. It was becoming something more, an ally, a challenger, a force that could no longer be ignored. The next move wasn't clear yet, but one thing was certain. Earth had changed the game, and now the entire galaxy would have to decide how to respond. The waiting was over. The future was in motion, and Earth had its place at the center. The true power of the planet had been revealed, but what would come next remained unknown. Would the galaxy accept Earth's new role, or would they resist the changes that were now inevitable? Only time would tell, but one thing was clear. Earth had already won its place in the stars.